All right, you guys, today I have for you an Acura MDX. Very nice luxury SUV. We'll show you around the car. I love this front grille here, and I love the look of these headlights. They just look so modern, so clean. Even though this is the last generation, technically, they just came out with the new 2022 MDX. I still think this car makes a really good case for itself. I've really enjoyed driving it, surprisingly. I wasn't expecting to totally like the drive of this car, but I actually think it's a pretty competitive driving SUV. So this is the back of it. As you can see, it has the super handling all-wheel drive. I'll show you guys the cargo area. So this is what it looks like. You get decent storage, and you get a little thing under the floor right here. So pretty good storage all throughout. As with like just about every SUV, the seats fold down to give you more storage. But we'll close this up here, let you guys see how fast it closes. For a power tailgate, I think it closes like pretty fast. But we'll hop in here, we'll show you guys what it's made of. Start it up. All right, so this interior, it's just like the TLX that I reviewed. You get this screen right here. Basically, it controls your radio and some of your climate controls, exactly like the TLX, where you adjust your fan speed through the screen, and also your AC, your heated seats. All of that is adjusted through the screen. So that could be a little bit bothersome for some people if you don't like paging through menus to do simple things like heated seats or fan speed. But luckily, you do get little temperature buttons right here. So these are definitely helpful. Just like the TLX, I think this interior feels solid. It's not the most modern thing in the world. I mean, it is like showing its age, definitely, but it's still pretty solid. And I think it feels decently luxurious in here. I do wish this screen felt a little bit more modern. Up here, this screen, as like many people have said, it's a little bit redundant, but it does work well for your Apple CarPlay. If you guys want to see what Apple CarPlay looks like in this car, you can check out my TLX video in the link below. Basically, I go over it. It's the same exact system, looks exactly the same. So if you guys want to check out Apple CarPlay and the MDX, just check out the TLX. Definitely exactly the same. You do have your dynamic mode selector, so you can change from comfort, normal, and sport. Comfort mode really dulls everything back. It makes this car feel like slower than it actually is. And I don't really notice a huge difference between normal and sport. I think like sport might just feel a little bit more responsive, but between normal and sport, not a huge difference. This car, it kind of responds the same in either mode. You do have these analog gauges right here, just like the TLX. The font looks pretty sporty, but it's not gonna rock your world with like modern technology, you know, the digital screens that a lot of newer cars have. This doesn't have that. So if you really care about those features, you might not like the MDX as much as some of the competitors. On the steering wheel, you have your self-steering assist for the adaptive cruise control. You also have your following distance. These are your cruise control buttons. You push main to turn on the cruise control. There's your resume, there's your set, there's your cancel, your trip button. This controls your items in the screen, so your oil life, your compass, and your super handling all-wheel drive. I'll leave it on this. This shows how much power is going to each individual wheel, and I like that display. I think that's definitely a cool tech feature, a cool party trick, so we'll leave it on there. Here you have your Bluetooth and your volume. You swipe this to seek between tracks. So cool, like little dual purpose for that control right there. Over here you have your brake hold. This is your lane keep assist on or off, and your traction control on or off, your collision avoidance on or off, and your parking sensors. And you do have your parking brake right here. But yeah, pretty standard stuff in here. You do have like a really big center console down here. And you get this like cool little sliding tray. So that's pretty neat. You do have a glove box over here. It's pretty big. And yeah, that covers all the interior features for the most part. Everything in here is pretty standard stuff. But I'll show you guys under the hood. Pop the hood. All right. A little bit dirty in here, but this is the 3.5 liter V6 making 290 horsepower. Pretty healthy number for a V6. Let's get this thing out on the road. You do have your typical button shifter right here. Pretty self-explanatory. Toggle down for reverse, buttons for neutral, drive, and park. But we'll put it in drive. We'll set off here. So one very resounding trait, I'm driving over this like rough gravelly road right here. Honestly, it doesn't even feel phased by it. It just really glides right over these rocks like no problem. So I'm really impressed with the ride. It's got a very luxurious feeling ride to it. Definitely like it a lot. We're gonna turn here. We'll try out the handling here a little bit, see what it's like. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, it really did well around that corner. It gripped super well and the wheels didn't spin like at all. Right off the bat, this car does make a good impression in terms of its handling and driving feel. It's very balanced in the way that it's really smooth and really cushiony, but also pretty nimble for an SUV. 0 to 60, it feels like it's probably in like the low 7-second range. I'm guessing the most realistic figure is probably like 7.2. If I can find it, I'll put the 0 to 60 in the screen. But it's definitely a peppy car. Like I said, it builds speed so smoothly, and it feels nice and brisk when it gets up to speed. I love the sound of these Honda V6s too. They just sound so cool. They sound, you know, really aggressive. Even when you're just like kind of feathering the gas, this car gets right up to speed. It never feels slow or hesitant or anything like that. It always feels like it's eager to get up and go. Stepping on the brakes, they have a really nice feel to them. They don't feel like unpredictable or too touchy, and they don't feel vague either. They got a really good bite to them. They just feel really linear and really precise. It's really easy to like modulate your stopping distance. So I like the brake pedal in this car, definitely. I'll talk about throttle response when this light turns green. All right, so I am in sport mode. And yeah, the accelerator, it's pretty responsive right at the beginning. If you want to cross over like 3,000 RPM, you do kind of have to put your foot into it. But like many Hondas, this accelerator is still very responsive. It's very linear feeling. Each little input on the accelerator makes the car do something. The car always seems to respond to what you're telling it to do. So I definitely like the throttle response in the MDX for sure. I am liking the ride quality of this MDX. I honestly feel like it's almost on par with the RX 350 that I reviewed. The RX, it kind of like floated over the bumps a little bit better. Kind of was a little bit bouncier than this. This is a very settled and smooth ride, but it never feels like floaty or bouncy or anything like that. So I'm definitely liking just like the very settled and very firm, very compliant characteristic of this car. As for the steering, it's typical Acura steering. It reminds me of the TLX that I reviewed a little bit. It's pretty precise. I feel like I have a really good sense of where the front wheels are gonna end up. So I think the steering in this car is very good. It's also got a really smooth response to it. A really smooth, really luxurious response while still being pretty precise and predictable. So the steering is nice and balanced in this car. My only complaints is that it's a little bit light, just like the TLX that I drove. And also like the TLX, it's just like kind of numb. You don't get like a whole lot of feedback through the steering. This is an SUV, so I can't really complain there or knock it too hard for that. Most buyers in this class aren't looking for like the sportiest thing in the world. We're gonna take around this corner here, speaking of sport. And yeah, this thing really grips well. the steering could communicate better through the corner, but I think this car definitely handles well for what it is. It feels pretty stable and pretty assured. So definitely good job on the handling with the MDX. I'm really not running into any problems with this 9-speed automatic. Really not noticing any like sensation of like jerkiness or like unrefinement. I don't think the 9-speed is as bad as people say it is. It seems to respond decently. It could definitely be faster to kick down, I think. For that like kick down right there, I had to go like half throttle for that. I am in sport mode, I should mention. So for being in sport mode, could respond a little bit faster. Not that this is bad. I mean, it doesn't respond like super delayed or anything. It's just not the sportiest feeling transmission out there. Taking around this back road here. Yeah, it handles the corners like pretty well. I'm impressed with the handling of this car, definitely. Yeah, it definitely moves out of its own way. Steering remains very consistent throughout the corners. It's a very smooth steering. It just has a really smooth dynamic to it. It returns to center very smoothly. Love the smoothness and the precision of the steering. Brakes, as I said, they feel very firm and they communicate well, and they stop the car really smoothly. So definitely a good tactile feel to the brakes. It never feels like you have to wring this engine out to get up to speed. This thing just kind of like gets up and goes without really trying too hard. Yeah, very linear in how it tracks the corner. I love this high seating position. This windshield, it's like very upright and it's very big, and it gives you this impression like you can just like kind of see right over onto the road in front of you. You have really good visibility in this Acura MDX. You have really big side mirrors here. These are like huge, so I can see everything out of these just fine. It's like super easy checking your blind spot, and I get a good view of the back. These pillars are on the bigger side, but I can see around them just fine, so I can't complain there. But yeah, this is definitely a more fun SUV than I thought it would be. It's not like a BMW X5M, but it's definitely fun in like its own zippy little Honda way. This 9-speed is not the quickest shifting, but it's very smooth and predictable in how it shifts, so I can't really complain with the shift quality too much. We are going to test out the handling. Yeah, very good. I don't want to like push this car like super hard or anything like that, but when you're just like it can definitely be driven like a normal car for sure. I mean, I've driven cars that don't have as good handling as this, so I think they did a really good job. We're gonna make a quick pass here. Great highway car. A little bit of wind noise, just like a A little bit. It's not bothersome. I think it is slightly louder than the RX 350, but it's not like it's super loud or super uncomfortable. I'm definitely not noticing any major problems in terms of road noise. I definitely like the braking feel in this car better than the TLX. I think this car just feels a lot more linear, a lot more predictable in its brakes, and a lot more confidence inspiring too. But we're gonna take it back on the highway here. Listen to that VTEC. Okay, you know, it's not like the fastest car I've driven, but it definitely gets out of its own way pretty well. This is going to be like I said with the TLX, this feels adequately fast. It feels plenty powerful for just normal everyday driving. It's definitely not going to offend anybody. This is overall a very inoffensive car. Everything does what you want it to do. Everything feels right with this car. We are going to take it around this cloverleaf off-ramp here. Nice and direct steering, making that lane change. Going about 40 into this corner. Definitely inspires a lot more confidence than many SUVs I've driven. Like I said, some body lean, some weight shift, but grips the road very well. Oh, you know what? I just realized this transmission does have a sport mode. So I'm gonna try that. This is like Sport Plus in the TLX. So yeah, it is a lot more responsive when I put it in that sport mode. It keeps the revs up high. We're gonna try the paddle shifters here. We're gonna downshift. They actually seem to respond like pretty quickly. I'd say within a quarter of a second to half a second. If you don't like the shift logic of this 9-speed, the paddles work decently well. I wouldn't use them like every day, but in a pinch, I think they work fine. But we'll put it back in normal drive here. Put it back in the mode that everybody is gonna use it in. These seats are super comfortable. They're super supportive. I'm surprised I actually like the seats in the MDX better than the RX 350. I just think these seats have just like really good support. You're not like sliding around at all. You just feel like you have like good cushioning and just good support everywhere, like leg support, back support, shoulder support. It's just a really good, comfortable seat. So if seat comfort is important to you, I definitely check out the MDX. I don't usually talk about seat comfort just because like it never really stands out to me when I drive a car. A lot of cars kind of feel like roughly the same in that regard. But the MDX, the seats definitely stood out to me. So definitely check it out if you care about seat comfort. I think these seats are really good. But yeah, I think that about covers everything. Pretty sure I talked about everything. If there's anything I missed, let me know in the comments. Check out the turning radius here. See how it circles around here. Yeah, it has like a good turning radius. Definitely a little bit better than average, I would say. especially for an SUV. But we're gonna park it here. All right, so the Acura MDX, very smooth riding car for sure. It's a luxurious experience driving this car. Nice steering. It's precise enough, and it's very smooth in its response too. The car just tracks around corners with really good smoothness and stability. The handling, I was very impressed with it. You do just feel some body lean. So it's, like I said, it's not like a super firm feeling like sports car or anything like that. You can definitely tell it's an SUV, but it's a very competent, very confidence-inspiring SUV. So I like the handling of this MDX. It's V6. Like the sound of it. Sounds really good and has such a smooth linear power band. Could just use like a little bit more power when you're like below like 1500. Once you cross over that, the power just builds really smoothly, and this car just kind of like whips right up to speed. It never feels like it's like working really hard to get you up to speed. Road noise is pretty quiet around town, maybe just like a little bit loud on the highway, but about average for a normal car, maybe a little bit loud for a luxury car. I do think this interior could be a little bit more up to date, but it's a pretty solid interior. The materials feel good. But yeah, you guys, that's the Acura MDX. We're gonna hop out here, shut it off. All right, thanks for watching, everyone.